So let's jump right in. So I'd like to know if you can relate to any of this. Are you tired of watching the clock and obsessing over sleep? Are you fed up with spending so much time in a dark room trying to get your little one to nap or go to bed for the night? Or maybe you're really tired and you just don't have the energy to try anything at all. And the more tired you are, the more foggy you feel, and then you don't even know what to try. Perhaps you're a bit unsure about how to improve your little one's sleep because there's just so much conflicting information out there. And then that makes you feel confused and full of self doubt about what's best. And maybe you're looking for a child centered approach that gets to the root cause of why your little one is waking rather than just, cry it out. So let me know. Can you relate to any of these? Let me know in the chat. And if you're nodding your head in agreement to any of these points, I promise I'm not a stalker. I've done or felt all of those things at some point. I'm very familiar with it. And I promise you that whatever you're doing and it's not working, it's not actually your fault at all. So many of the common sleep strategies that are out there not only contribute to more sleep issues, but they cause you to question your ability to read your little one's cues, which then leads to stress and anxiety. Now, you don't need to worry. The approach I'm going to talk about today, it's not cried out, dressed up as gentle sleep, like many of the approaches out there, unfortunately. And actually, crying is completely unnecessary because the truth is that when you understand and align your child's natural sleep regulators, you will see improvements in sleep, resettle easily, and you can regain your energy and confidence again. So, by the end of this training today, I really want to show you how to improve your little one's sleep without sleep training so you can drop the exhaustion and experience freedom and confidence in your approach. So let me know if that sounds like something you're interested in. You're going to discover why what you've been doing for the last few weeks or months doesn't work. And instead, I'm going to walk you through what does. And just imagine being able to skip over all of that Googling and that trial and erroring and just do what works. I know when I learned the steps that I'm going to share with you today, it really changed my life. It changes my clients' lives, and I know it can change yours too. So let me know in the chat, why did you come today? Like, what changes are you hoping to see? And just on that note, I do have a special gift for you because everyone likes getting presents. Everything I'm going to share today is really equally important when it comes to finding ease and joy in your days and nights. So if you stay until the end, you'll really get the full picture and all the tips I'm going to share. So basically, I'm going to bribe you. Close to the end of the class, I'll put a link in the chat where you can get access to the beautiful custom made printable affirmation cards that I actually made for tired mums. So let me know in the chat. I'm staying if you want to stay till the end. And yeah, it would be great to have you here. So before we go any further, I should formally introduce myself. I'm Andrea. I'm a community midwife and child health nurse and founder of the Mama and Me Resilience Method. I help responsive mums to get more rest and self-care without sleep training or strict schedules. I have 16 years of clinical experience and am an accredited neuroprotective developmental care practitioner. It's a bit of a mouthful, which means I'm a health professional with additional evidence-based training in baby sleep, breastfeeding, and supporting mums with their mental health. I'm also a holistic sleep coach, which means the approach I take to sleep is a supportive one where I explore all of the possible causes for sleep challenges. And I've literally supported hundreds of families with sleep. And I've done a lot of ongoing training in my special interest areas of infant mental health, perinatal mental health, and respectful parenting. Now, my most important role is that of mum. And as I said at the start, I have two little girls, and I really enjoyed the baby stage, particularly with my second daughter, once I had learned all of this stuff that I'm going to teach you today. And just a quick 3 fun facts about me. So even though my daughters sleep quite well at night, you'll always find me with a coffee in hand every morning because I actually really like staying up late working on projects. I hate confrontation, but I found a way to be confident in my parenting choices and to stop letting the opinions of others bother me. And I still struggle sometimes with the frustration if my toddler doesn't take much of a nap. She's in the process of dropping her nap. And then, I don't get things done. But having the tools to get a good night's sleep means I don't struggle like I did with my eldest daughter, who didn't seem to sleep day or night and just left me utterly exhausted. So before I go on, I'm going to flick across to the chat and just see what people are saying. So wanting to know about day sleep, bedtime, nighttime, overnight. Cool, we'll cover that. I wanted my little one to sleep in her own sleep space. Possum's approach, but sleep keeps getting worse. Longer periods of sleep overnight. Having to return to work soon. Yeah, okay. So a fair bit here about independent sleep. So we can definitely touch on that. So exhausted and defeated, that was me 7 years ago when I was struggling with hourly wakes with my eldest daughter. I was trying all of the things to improve her sleep, trying to resettle her during the day and put her down in a dark room to encourage longer naps in the hope that nighttime sleep would improve. I was trying lavender sleep balms, watching wake windows, you name it, I was trying it. And some nights I even resorted to driving around until she fell asleep because I just couldn't get her down. And there was definitely no way that I could put her down drowsy but awake. That was just never going to happen. So I remember one time I was so exhausted. I just wanted to watch TV with my husband on the couch for a while, and my daughter woke up half an hour after I put her down for the night, and I just knew it was the start of another really long night. I ended up crying on the floor of her room, not knowing what on earth to try next. I didn't want to leave her to cry, but nothing was working. And I knew I needed help. So I called the sleep advice helpline, booked us in for a sleep school stay. And despite their reassurances, when we went along, I discovered it was cried out. And I really couldn't bear to see the look on her face. I still remember it to this day, or hear her crying. And we really left with no plan. So I guess you could say we failed sleep school. And by this stage, I was feeling pretty defeated. So let me know, have you ever felt like that? Tell me in the comments if you've had something similar happen. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's tried a lot of things with not much success. So there I was, feeling like I'd tried and failed all the options, and I just decided, no more. I'm not going to keep feeling both physically exhausted and emotionally drained with the worry and the guilt. So I was going to figure it out and enjoy life again without sleep training. And that's really what got me started on the journey to where I am today, here with you, and working with my clients so that they just skip over the months of trial and error and the struggle that I went through and get the best rest possible, find confidence and freedom from the schedules, the guilt, and the worry. And so I'm so grateful that I made that decision to invest in myself, or I'd probably still be trying the dark rooms and the sleep balms and watching the clock for wake windows, and not getting anywhere. And so, like Oprah says, though, when you know better, you do better. So now I work with mums who, like I was, are feeling overwhelmed when it comes to advice around sleep. They're finding that their little one is waking hourly for parts of the night, or taking up to an hour to settle, or experiencing false starts. And when we make adjustments to shift their little one's natural sleep regulators, not only does the excessive waking stop, but the self-doubt also goes, and there's no more worries about what others will say. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth are natural sleep regulators? Don't worry, we'll get to this in just a minute. But first, let me know in the chat, have you experienced pressure from others to cry it out? Because that was certainly something that I experienced. So there's 3 things we're going to cover today. The 3 myths about baby sleep that are likely making things worse for you, red flags when it comes to sleep challenges, and my 5-step holistic sleep system. So let's jump into the 3 myths. The first myth is you need to teach your little one to self-settle for easy bedtimes and long stretches of sleep. Now, there is a heavy emphasis in the baby sleep industry on settling methods. Mums are told that moving away from methods where they settle their baby, like feeding or rocking, is essential if they want to prevent bad sleep associations and bad habits. The common message is that you must teach your baby to self-settle if you want to see improvements in sleep, and often some form of cried out is promoted as being necessary to teach this. So, why is this a problem? Well, as I mentioned earlier, sleep is under the control of natural sleep regulators in the body, so it can't be taught. You don't need to teach your baby to link their sleep cycles. It's a biological process and function, like I said. So, settling methods get our babies into a nice, calm state to fall asleep, but they have very little to do with sleep quantity or sleep quality. There are two main parts to the natural sleep regulation system, and these do affect sleep quality and quantity. So, the first is the circadian clock, which is our internal body clock that differentiates between daytime and nighttime, and it's largely influenced by light signals that are picked up through our eyes. So, when it's dark, sleep hormones are released, and that helps us fall asleep and stay asleep. The other sleep regulator is sleep pressure, which is what builds throughout the day and causes us to be feeling sleepy by bedtime. So, for our little ones, they can't actually manage to get through a full day without taking the edge off their sleep pressure. And that's why they take naps. I guess you can think of naps as like a release valve on this sleep pressure to let some of the pressure off. So these sleep processes in the body aren't within our conscious control. I can't just click my fingers and say, okay, I want to go to sleep now. My body has to be ready. And so it's logical that sleep isn't a skill. It's not something we can teach if it's not within our conscious control. Now, a quick tip relating to the sleep regulators. We want to avoid dark rooms in the day for naps, or we risk disruption to the circadian clock. So, essentially, creating confusion in the body about whether it's daytime or nighttime. So, let me know in the chat, have you heard about these sleep regulators before? Is this new information? Cool. Yes, I can see a few people were agreeing with what I was saying previously about pressure to sleep train, which is unfortunate. But let me know if you've heard this information before. So, the second myth is that sleep breeds sleep. So, it's commonly said that sleep breeds sleep, meaning the more sleep a little one has in the day, the more they'll take at night. But sleep doesn't work like that. You can't teach a little one to sleep or force them to take more than their body actually needs. Their sleep needs are biologically set and highly individual. A large study in Australia in 2014 found that babies aged between 4 months and 12 months of age can take anywhere from 10 hours to 18 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period, with most somewhere in the middle of that. So, in other words, there's a huge variation in normal sleep needs, and it's based on your child as an individual, not on their age. Often, sleep consultants and sleep schools have mums spending hours patting and shushing their baby in a dark room, trying to encourage these long naps in the hope of improving nighttime sleep. And that's fine if your little one is on the high end of the sleep needs spectrum. But if your little one is on the lower end and you promote a lot of daytime sleep, then you can start to see disruption to those sleep regulators that I was talking about, specifically the sleep pressure, because it'll just simply be too low at bedtime. So, this has been a big shift for many of the mums I work with. Once they look at their baby's sleep needs overall, stop spending so much energy during the day trying to get their baby to resettle, they find so much freedom and it really helps with their sleep challenges. So, let me know in the chat. Is this feeling reassuring for you that you don't need to force your baby to have some required magical number of hours sleep, based on what someone's telling you? Now, the third myth is that watching wake windows improves sleep. So, watching wake windows is another strategy that can actually make sleep worse for some babies. Watching wake windows involves tracking a little one's awake periods to get an idea of when to put them down for a nap. Now, the problem is that ideal wake windows are calculated on the average amount of sleep a baby needs at a certain age, not on how much sleep they need as an individual. So, for example, if a website you're looking at tells you that the wake windows of a 4-month-old should be 2 hours, that would mean about 4 naps a day. If the naps averaged an hour each, you would have 4 hours of sleep in the day. But what if your baby had very low sleep needs, only needed 10 hours sleep in the 24-hour period? that means you only have 6 hours left at night, and you're likely in for a very disrupted night because you're probably trying to give your baby way more than the 6 hours. So, tracking wake windows based on what a website or an app tells you is likely to be inaccurate for your baby because it's based on the age based sleep needs. Some parents do find it helpful to roughly track how long their little one tends to be awake before needing a nap, but more often than not, I do find it leads to a lot of clock watching, and that leads to a lot of anxiety for mums. And again, this information has really been a game changer for a lot of my clients and just help them to tune into their baby and let go of the worry around sleep and all the noise around them, which is just so important. So, my hot tip here would be delete your sleep tracking apps. It will bring you so much freedom away from clock watching and really allow you to focus on what your little one needs. And again, I know this is quite radically different from what is shared out there on most sleep forums. So, let me know in the chat, is this making sense? Does this is this sitting okay with you? Now, as you may have noticed in what we've covered so far, there's a lot of conflicting information about sleep, and unfortunately, much of it isn't based on science or research. And many of the strategies out there actually have you working against the sleep regulators, so it might actually be making things worse. Now, let's have a look at the red flags when it comes to sleep challenges. So, if you're experiencing excessive night waking, which is actually defined as waking more often than every 2 hours at night. So, waking every 2 hours at night in the first year is actually considered normal. Waking more often than that, even for parts of the night, there might be, that's a bit of a red flag. Experiencing false starts, where your little one wakes not long after being put down for the night, long periods of wakefulness during the night, or early rising. So, when medical reasons have been ruled out, it's more often than not that these things are caused by some disruption to that natural sleep system that I was talking about. Now, I just want to mention here that it can also be a feeding issue for younger babies. And unfortunately, with most sleep consultants not having a health background, I do see babies who have had feeding problems come from unqualified people who work in the industry giving advice that does not support, healthy feeding or what a baby needs with feeding. So please be mindful that cutting nighttime breastfeeds in particular shouldn't be done in babies under 1 year of age without consultation with a professional who has experience in lactation, because it could really jeopardize your breastfeeding journey. Now, next. When sleep is normal, cue-based care has been shown by research to be the most beneficial for mum and baby. However, if you've solely been following your baby's cues and they're experiencing these sleep challenges for a couple of weeks or more, then unfortunately it's likely that they'll stay stuck in that pattern. So when a little one has a disrupted pattern, they need support to nudge their sleep regulation system back on track if you want to see an improvement. Now, some mums, in their quest for a solution to excessive wakefulness or unmanageable days, end up in a place where sleep becomes the only thing they think about. And they end up spending a lot of time on their phones, scrolling Instagram, Googling for answers. If you find that you're feeling really overwhelmed with all the conflicting advice, you're obsessing and reading about everything you can on sleep, you really need someone to help bring clarity and focus to your situation. It is a bit of a red flag. Too much information can actually be as bad as not enough information. It's the clarity that you really need. So let me know in the chat if you've had any of these red flags. Are any of these a particular concern for you? Let me know. I'll flick across now. Cool. Alrighty. So let's move on to the 5-step holistic sleep system. So basically what to do instead. What is a holistic sleep system to start with? Well, what is holistic? Like, what does that mean? Holistic just means to consider all the aspects of the sleep concern and not just one. So this has worked for me and for the hundreds of families I've worked through my process, where we look at the big picture and address all of the pieces of the puzzle rather than just focusing on one aspect, like what settling method you're using, trying to push that independent sleep. So, for example, if you independent sleep, for example. So, if you want to experience a complete transformation in your situation, you really need to look at all of the pieces of the puzzle. And I can't stress enough that you don't have to use the sleep training methods to, help sleep at all. There's all these other pieces of it. So the thing is that not only are the sleep training strategies often ineffective at addressing the root cause of sleep challenges, and this is supported by research, the changes that come with sleep training don't last in the long term because they don't address the root cause of sleep challenges. They're also really disconnecting for mums and babies, and it doesn't have to be that way. So you can see improvements while building connection with your little one. And you absolutely should focus on building connection because that's going to help support healthy sleep for both of you. So, the holistic approach I use helps you to not only see the improvements with sleep, but also discover like what's important to you, how to create the manageable and enjoyable days, and just drop that self doubt in this season. So, let me know if you'd like me to share more about that. Each of these pieces of the puzzle here come into it, and I actually should add another one because temperament also does impact sleep as well. Cool. So let's go into the 5 steps in a bit more detail. So, step one is a science backed step by step plan to optimize or reset those sleep regulators. So, when my eldest daughter was going through her hourly wakes during the night, I thought initially it was like the inverted commas 4 month sleep regression, and I pushed through. But as the days turned to weeks, I'd barely be able to open my eyes in the morning. They were stinging from sleep deprivation. I had zero energy in the evenings. I was filled with dread, facing another night of no sleep. And I was trying a lot of the tactics that you hear. So I was trying like feed, play, sleep, the wake windows, sleep balms, and none of that was working. And as I mentioned earlier, we did attend sleep school, and what they didn't teach us, and why one of the reasons why we didn't have a result with that was they didn't address the root cause of her excessive waking, which was disruption to her sleep pressure and the circadian clock. So once I accessed some professional training on the science of sleep and the ways to improve sleep without sleep training, I was able to see where I was going wrong, how to make adjustments to our day, and it gave me the ability to be flexible to our circumstances on any given day and how to support her sleep. So when I start working with mums, many are using those mainstream tactics that they're being told. But once they apply this framework, they're able to drop those tactics and find what works for their baby as an individual. Because baby sleep actually isn't linear either, and sleep needs change. So little ones will get sick, they go through developmental stages, and their sleep needs change. So you've got a lot going on in the first year. And the benefit of having a framework rather than a bunch of tactics is that you can just apply it again and again when you come up against challenges, as opposed to having to go back through and, do cry it out every time your little one's gone through a difficult period. And you can work out what works best for your baby for their individual sleep and feeding needs rather than trying to apply age based schedules to them. So, the framework that I use is based on an extensive research review of the neuroscience, child development, sleep science, and breastfeeding by both Dr. Pamela Douglas and Lindsay Hookway. And so it is very much about the science of sleep. Now, remember when I was talking about myths earlier, and I said that there's a wide variation in how much sleep babies need as individuals, and we can't force more sleep than they need, which is why the age based schedules and the wake windows don't work. Well, because of this, the first step is always to calculate how much sleep your little one needs as an individual. And then from there, you can put timings into place that help reset the circadian clock and ramp up sleep pressure. Now, often I'm going to jump in here proactively because one of the questions I always get is, well, do I just need to cut down their naps then? That's one strategy, but it's not the only strategy. And to be honest, it's the last one that I use. And the reason for that is because often it leads to clock watching and can make the days feel really long and really hard. So it's not just a matter of cutting naps and watching the clock. It's about putting timings across the whole day. We take the sleep we need over 3 or 4 days, so we actually need to work it out and put timings that are going to work over time. So we really want to look at your little one's sleep needs as, again, as I've said, as an individual, not a cookies cutter schedule, based on their age. So Rachel was one of the first mums to run through my program and the holistic sleep system. And at the time, her 10-month-old was waking more than 10 times a night. She tried everything and said it was working with her baby's own natural biological processes using this framework that changed her situation. And her little one actually dropped to 1 or 2 wakes a night. So Rachel's had her second baby now. She's applying these principles from the start. So I'm sure things will be much different from her this time. Let me know in the chat if that's the kind of change that you're looking for too. So step 2 of the holistic approach is to use strategies that support your little one's temperament traits and sensory profile. So we're all born with certain temperament traits that determine how we relate to the world. So for example, one of the temperament traits that has been recognized by researchers is intensity. Low intensity children tend to go with the flow, don't strongly express their feelings, whereas heightened intensity children will experience and express emotions more intensely, and they might be referred to as strong-willed. Let me know if your little one might be one of these children. So how does this relate to sleep? Well, when it comes to the trait of intensity, if you're persevering with a sleep strategy that's causing a lot of distress for your little one, rather than supporting them to manage these intense emotions, it's going to lead to disconnection. And that's going to cause stress for mum and baby, just from what we know about attachment research. And it's going to likely worsen their sleep because of that. Babies also reveal to us over the course of the first year what their sensory preferences are. So, for example, are they quite sensitive to noise or light and become upset while they are actually seeking movement by rocking and deep pressure that they actually receive when they're feeding. So, feeding is actually a sensory experience as well as, a feeding experience. So if their need for a particular sense isn't met during the day, they can wake overnight seeking that input more. And on the other hand, if they're getting too much of a certain sensory input from something that they're quite sensitive to, like you're inadvertently doing something that's sort of irritating them, I guess you could say, then they're going to have trouble settling to sleep. So this isn't something that's spoken about much in baby sleep world. It does tend to be oversimplified. So, you'll hear don't overstimulate your baby or wear them out with lots of sensory adventures. But it's much more nuanced than that. You actually need to work out your little one's sensory profile as an individual if you're really going to know what is, helping or perhaps inhibiting their sleep. And when you're unsure of what your little one's trying to tell you, it can just really feel like you're getting it wrong all the time. And a lot of mums say this to me. You feels like my little one doesn't give me many sleepy cues, or there's no particular rhythm for the day, and it's really frustrating. So understanding your little one's temperament traits and sensory profile is that missing piece that will make things feel easier for you. And not only does it feel easier, but it feels right, because you're responding in a way that meets your little one's needs. You're investigating what they need, and that feels good. Like that's how it's meant to be. It's not leaving them alone somewhere to just cry it out. So I know I just want to quickly say, like this particular piece of the puzzle, I know there's probably a bit of curiosity because it's not spoken about much. Like it's a huge topic and not one I can go into too much depth today. But just know that, I guess, it is an important piece to look at for your baby. Now, it's important for your confidence that you know that there are other people, mostly like you, who have had success in approaching sleep this way, where they're looking at the sleep regulators, they're looking at their baby's individual needs, especially if you've tried lots of things in the past. So before Cassandra went through the holistic sleep system, she said she was really struggling with self-doubt and feeling lost, and doing work to get clear on what her was important to her and what her baby needed, really gave her the confidence in not wanting to do cry it out. And it shows that we shouldn't underestimate how important it is to build these solid foundations and, connect with our baby in this way. Now, the third piece is a sleep environment that maximizes everyone's sleep. So, there are a number of environmental factors that impact those sleep regulators that I've been talking about. So, temperature, types of light exposure are two of the big ones. It's also important to look at your little one's feeding requirements and make sure that feeding isn't a factor in the sleep challenges. So, we also need to look at setting up a sleep space that maximizes everyone's rest and, again, considering your little one's sensory preferences and needs. And often I think we think that we need to see improvements, we have to do these big changes. But when when I've worked with families who've seen big improvements, often it's just small adjustments to their sleep environment, to their setup, to what they're doing that really make the big change, that really see the big changes happen. Um, a few people were saying their little ones are definitely a little bit on the intense side of the temperament. Yes, yes, I can relate. So, oh, sorry, I didn't skip ahead there to my slide. So, yeah, these are kind of the things we need to consider: the temperature, types of light, sleep space, sleep location, feeding, and the sensory preferences and needs. And small environmental changes can lead to big improvements. Now, the fourth thing is that you want to create manageable and enjoyable days for yourself and your little one. So, it's so common during this transition period into motherhood for mums to feel swamped by their baby's needs, where they actually just forget about their own needs, neglect their own needs. And if you've been someone who is used to having everything under control at work prior to having kids, you might find yourself turning your focus to fixing things that are actually outside of your control. This is quite a common concern and challenge. Um, so, the things like trying to teach your baby to self settle or getting them onto a strict feeding schedule, suddenly then your mental and emotional well-being and how good you feel hinges on something that you have no control over, and that will lead to you feeling anxious, frustrated, potentially resentful when it doesn't go to plan. So we really don't want to be in that state. When you're in that internal state, you're not showing up as the kind of mum, partner, friend that you want to be, and you're not enjoying life and you don't feel good. So let me know, are you someone who was very organized, maybe a bit perfectionistic before you had kids? Because this is something that can be a real struggle for mums as they transition into motherhood. So that's why in this system, we walk through the practical aspects of creating manageable days, of finding what feels good for you in this season of life, and how to practically find the time to do enjoyable activities, turn your focus to what brings more joy. And really, you need to create a vision for how you want your days to look, and then you can take the action to make that happen. So I just wanted to share Emmeline's story. She worked through the holistic sleep system. And if you can read in that screenshot, the print's a bit small. But before we worked together, she'd pretty much tried every sleep tactic out there. And the words she used about her feelings were failure, extremely anxious, and obsessive Google searching. And then she saw huge improvements with sleep and said that the program changed her life. And funnily enough, it's not the improvement in his sleep that has the greatest impact, it's the permission to respond. So, having the knowledge and the skills to address these difficult feelings is just really important if you want to completely change your experience in that first year, particularly. And finally, we need to focus on building connection. Again, this is a big topic around co-regulation and how we support our babies. But in my opinion, it's really one of the most important sleep tools that, again, hardly anyone speaks about. It's just that power of connection. So that co-regulation I was talking about. You're a mum and baby pair. And the relationship is bi-directional, which means that when you're relaxed, it helps your baby to relax. And if your baby is relaxed, it also helps you to feel relaxed. Calm breeds sleep. So when our nervous systems are regulated, when we're feeling calm, that's going to support sleep. So, sleep training by and large promotes non responsive methods where you're told to ignore what your baby's communicating with you. And that doesn't lead to a relaxed nervous system in either mum or baby. And actually, research shows that it increases anxiety in mums. So, when we're responsive, our nervous systems relax, our baby's nervous system relaxes, and the sleep regulation hormones can work effectively. They're not going to work effectively if we're really stressed and anxious, because these stress hormones do actually interfere with the sleep promoting hormones, and we definitely don't want that happening. So, having a framework that is grounded in identifying and being responsive to what your baby needs as an individual, their feeding, their sensory, their sleep needs, as well as what you need as an individual to make your days and nights more enjoyable, will help you both stay relaxed, build your connection, and get more sleep. Now, Michelle sent me a really long message, and I've just shared a snippet here. I love the breakthrough that she had. It's not even the sleeping through the night that has made the most impact. It's how you reminded me that life is here to live and that motherhood should be enjoyed rigorously. What is important is connection with my baby, partner, and with myself. So let me know in the comments if that kind of approach feels good for you. Let's just go through a quick recap of the core concepts I went over today. So, the 3 myths that you need to teach self settling to see improvements with sleep. So, you learned that sleep is under the control of natural sleep regulators in the body. It can't be taught. You don't need to teach your baby to link their sleep cycles. It's a biological process and function. And that settling methods get our babies into a nice, calm state to fall asleep, but they have very little to do with the actual quality and quantity of sleep. The second myth of sleep breeds sleep. You learnt that little ones have individual sleep needs. There's a large variation in normal, and you can't force your little one to take more sleep than they need. And if you do, you'll end up disrupting those natural sleep regulators. And then watching wake windows, it does not improve sleep. The myth is that it does. And you learned that watching wake windows themselves are calculated based on averages and therefore likely to be inaccurate for your baby. And rigidly sticking to them can mess up with those sleep regulators as well. Now, we also went through that excessive night waking is really sort of defined as more often than too early in the night, false starts where your little one wakes not long after being put down, long periods of wakefulness in the night, or early rising are all sort of red flags for baby sleep. When medical reasons have been ruled out, it's more often than not because of disruption to those natural sleep regulators. And you learned that if you've been following your little one's cues and they've been experiencing challenges like this for more than a couple of weeks, they usually need some support to nudge that sleep regulation system back on track. And you also learned that too much information is just as bad as not enough information. And if you're experiencing analysis paralysis, you likely need some help to get clarity and focus on your situation. And a holistic sleep approach, it considers all of the sleep puzzle and not just one. And so that was the holistic sleep approach that we went through, the 5 pieces. So at the beginning of this training, I shared my goal today that by the end, I would show you how to improve your little one's sleep so you can drop the exhaustion, experience freedom and confidence in your approach. Now, here's the thing I really want you to remember, that everything here isn't some random theory. It's grounded in science and my 16 years of experience with working with families. The system has worked for me and others. I can't ever promise that your baby will sleep through the night when you use this system, but we can get your baby to biologically normal range of sleep and make things feel easier for you. There's nothing special about me or those that have implemented this system. We all find it hard to take in new information when our brains are tired. We've all got a lot going on in our lives. But if others can do it, if I can do it, I'm sure you can too. You already know that there's an alternative to cry it out, and you have these components of the system to follow. So you're halfway there already. Now, would you like to get to a place of more rest, freedom, and confidence? If you'd like me to help you, let me know in the chat. We can go through and talk about that some more. So you have a choice. You can either continue to do what you're doing, trying all of the tactics and hope that you see an improvement. And I really hope that you do. I do hope things improve for you. Or you can choose a simpler path using my program, the Mama and Me Resilience Method, which includes the holistic sleep system I've been talking about and professional support. The choice is yours, but let me know if it's okay if I take a couple of minutes to share how I can best help you. And then once I do that, if that's okay, then I can share that gift I mentioned at the start and we'll move on to some Q&A. Let me just check the chat. Cool. Alrighty. So I want to introduce the Mama and Me Resilience Method to you for responsive mums who want to get more rest and self-care without sleep training or strict schedules. The goal of the program is really to take you from exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated about sleep to rested, relaxed, and confident in your choices while building your bond with your little one. Now, the program is for you if you want a simple way to improve your little one's sleep without having to do any sort of sleep training or cry it out. You want to shift away from feeling exhausted so you can experience manageable and more enjoyable days and nights. And you want to stop feeling self-doubt about your approach and really find freedom and confidence to trust your instincts while building that strong connection. Now, it's not for you if your little one is over 12 months old. Now, I know there are a few people on here whose little ones are over 12 months. The reason for this is that I focus very much on child development stages in the first year in this program. And obviously, when your little one is a toddler, they're in a different stage of child development. And some of the strategies are slightly different. The basics are the same, but we have different strategies. So if you're someone that wants a bit of help with your toddler sleep, please send me an email or a message on social and we can have a chat because I have, a different option there. If you live in North America, unfortunately, I'm not insured for us to work together. And if you expect your baby to sleep through the night, with no wakes at all, or you want results at all costs, then we're probably not a good fit. So what you get when you enroll is in the program is a step-by-step framework that removes any confusion and overthinking over what to do when it comes to sleep, so you can just follow the steps, checklists, plans, and log sheets for you to take action. These are available to print, but I actually post them to you in a beautifully bound workbook, so you don't have to try and get the printer going. And it's really a complete online support system where you can access it from anywhere with real-time feedback, with an enrollment success call with me, your questions answered in our private program-only Facebook group. So let's break it down a bit. So firstly, there's the holistic sleep system that I mentioned, and this is ongoing access. So the ongoing access to the system means you can come back and look at it at any time. It's via a secure platform that you can access on a computer or on an app. There's a specific app for it. And I have created it with time-poor, tired mums in mind. So most of the lessons are audio. You can listen to them when you're out for a walk, washing the dishes. They're only 5 to 10 minutes long. And the first step we do in the holistic sleep system is use that science-backed step-by-step plan that optimizes or resets the sleep regulators. Like I mentioned, we calculate your little one's sleep and feeding needs so that you can create the plan that suits them as an individual. And then we create a flexible rhythm for the days that works with these sleep needs to optimize or reset these sleep regulators. Then we focus on the small adjustments that work so you don't feel overwhelmed or tired to watching the clock. We put the plan into action for about a week. Then we make tweaks to optimize the sleep further. Then the next step is to go through and add in strategies that support your little one's unique temperament traits and sensory profile. So you'll learn about the temporary traits and sensory preferences, and I walk you through the process on how to work out, what your little one's needs are. And then we have specific strategies that support sleep based on what your baby's traits are and based on what their sensory profile is. And then you can work that into the plan. The third step is to create a sleep environment that maximizes everyone's sleep. So we use a flowchart and checklist to review your own and your little one's sleep environment so you can make changes to any factors that could be impacting those sleep regulators. So looking at things like temperature, light, sleep location, sleep space. And you also have the option to access videos on breastfeeding or bottle feeding techniques and a food guide to ensure that feeding is not actually impacting sleep. Um, then we create manageable and enjoyable days for yourself and your little one. So, in this step, you'll walk through my 3-step process to find what self care activities work for you in this particular season of life, because that's the thing, like it changes when you have a baby. And then you'll use my unique social support and task assessment tool to work out how you can prioritize your tasks, where you can access support, and actually find the time to do what you enjoy. And the final step, we use a method that builds your connection with your little one. So, in this step, you learn the skills to help regulate your own nervous system if you're experiencing difficult feelings like frustration, guilt, or resentment, so that you can provide that calm space for your baby. You'll learn skills to deal with perfectionism and control so that you can really get rid of any roadblocks to connection with your little one. And you'll also have access to my healthy boundaries checklist and scripts for dealing with criticism for of your parenting so that you can basically know what to say if someone's giving you a bit of a hard time. Now, as I mentioned, this holistic sleep system is designed for tired and busy mums. The lessons are mostly 5 to 10 minute audio lessons with a few videos, and the system is very action focused because anyone can Google information, but you need to take action to see a change. So, to help you take action, that's why I've got all of those tools that I said just to make it easy for you that are printed and sent out to you. Now, also included when you enroll in the program is an enrollment one on one success call with me, valued at $500. So, let me spend a minute here and break down the enrollment success call because it's possible that if you're on here and you feel like this might be the next move, but you haven't ever experienced working with someone before, that you're not sure about this. So, how it works is basically a week or two following your enrollment, when you've had the chance to just go through the introduction and go through maybe a bit of a draft plan, we book a one on one call so I can run through everything to ensure that you're on the right track, give you any additional ideas that I think will help you. And the one on one call is actually not available to purchase individually. So it's only for those who join the program. It's important to understand that the sleep component of the holistic sleep system is a framework. It's not a cookie cutter schedule. So often mums are concerned that they won't know what to do, but this has never been a problem for any of my clients. Like I literally walk you through how to create the plan. And then on the call, I give you any additional personalized strategies and, help you identify, like, for example, maybe you're unsure about some of the temperament stuff. I can help you with that. So let me know in the comments if having access to me, if me guiding you through rather than you doing this alone like a course or something like that would really help you to see a change. Now, from time to time, mums tell me that their partner is on a different page when it comes to their approach to sleep. Their partner's been told by family and friends that the only way is to sleep train, and they're quite hesitant about doing any other way. And this was definitely the case for my client, Emily. So, when we did our one on one call, she actually invited her partner on the call so that he could hear some of like the background behind things. And I was just able to really help them to get on the same page. And then this is what she said to me, like, the program I believed saved our relationship and my mental health in some ways, which is just, it just is amazing feedback to hear. I've also included a bonus workbook with the program that helps parenting partners get on the same page. So you can actually go through this together. And yeah, it's just amazing to hear wins like that. So let me know in the chat, is this actually a bit of a concern for you? Do you think that if you were able to get on the same page with your partner, that would help things as well? Now, the third component is access to the private Facebook community. So if you're in my group, Natural Mama Club, this is a separate group for people in the program. When you join, you'll be invited to the group. You'll have access to support from a community of mums who are doing the exact same approach as you. So you're not going to get all this conflicting advice. You're going to get people saying, oh, yeah, this was my situation and this is what we did and this is what helped us. And it's all going to be in alignment with the kind of values that you have. Initially, my client Sarah had some concerns about being in another state. So I'm based in WA. Sarah was based, I think, in maybe Adelaide. And she was concerned that maybe that the time difference would be an issue. But really, it hasn't been an issue. As she said, it worked out really well. I feel like I have as much support as I do in my own state. And she said that she's more relaxed around sleep and confident in her choices. So I'd love to know what success actually looks like for you. Like, have you thought about maybe what do you actually want things to be like? Because sometimes we can be so focused on what we don't want that we don't think about what we do want. So let me know in the chat. I'd love to know, what do you want things to look like? Cool. So everything that I've mentioned so far comes to a value of $2,500. Now, if all this program did was give you a step-by-step system where you could get more sleep and really enjoy this season of life, would that be worth it? Now, here's the deal. Given that the program is worth $2,500, which may or may not feel like a lot to you, I know when I was searching for help, I would have freaked out to spend that much money. So what I've done is come up with a fair and reasonable program fee based on the level of support and accountability that you will receive from me. So if you're ready to drop the struggle with sleep, bring back the enjoyment of your days and feel confident in your approach, and you feel like this might be the next best move for you, you can get started right now for one payment of $697. Or if you prefer, you can join on a payment plan of $97 today and just another 7 monthly payments of $97. So that should be a relief. Like, you can get started today. Join us today for $97. I'm going to pop the link to the checkout page in the chat for those that want to take action now. And I will actually show you as well some screenshots of what the checkout page looks like, just so that you feel comfortable about what's coming next. But before that, I just want to let you know that I've got something really exciting for you. If you decide to invest in the program, where you get the holistic sleep system and the personal call with me and access to the private community, I'm also going to give you 6 months access to live weekly troubleshooting calls with me for free. Now, this is probably the biggest value of the program, is that you can actually ask me questions every single week. We can run through what's going on for you. If your little one's sick or teething, or you kind of been away and you want to get back on track, you can jump on a call and we can go through this. So let's break this down. Every week, you'll be able to submit your question for the group call. The calls happen in my online meeting room, which is actually using this same platform we're on now. If you can't make it live, your questions still get answered and you can watch the replay. I will post it in the private Facebook group. So if you can make it live, it's like mini personalized sessions where we chat and I'll help you with whatever you need. And of course, if your question or concern is very personal, we can address that privately. But if you're going through the holistic sleep system, you will still get this personalized attention. And just to make sure that you get all the support you need, you'll have access to this for 6 months. Because like I said, things can be up and down, things happen. So you will have this support for that period of time. Now, I know you want to find the rest, joy, and confidence, and maybe you're feeling overwhelmed with all the conflicting information out there. So for those that came along today, I did want to give you another special bonus, which is a custom sleep blueprint. So get my words out. So this is a plan that's emailed to you where I give you the specific strategies I think you should focus on with the program to just fast track the whole process. So this is only available until midnight Friday night, Perth time. So only for a few days, really, for those who have attended today. This is the special bonus. So if you think this is the next best move for you, check out that link I posted. You can go and go ahead and sign on. And I get that you might feel nervous about investing in yourself this way. And I know my client Lani did. She shared that when she came into the program, she actually felt quite helpless and could really barely function in the day. And she explored sleep training and just felt really depressed that nothing is working. But once she joined, she found that the philosophy really aligned with her beliefs and things changed a lot for her. She said the program is flexible, realistic, the support is amazing, worth every penny and every hour spent studying my baby. So her little one now sleeps through the night, and mum really enjoys life again. So let's just do one last review. Oh, sorry, there were two parts to that one. Let's just do one review here, a last review of everything. So we've got the holistic sleep system, the success call, the Facebook group, live weekly troubleshooting group calls, the webinar only bonus of the custom sleep blueprint plan. That total value really stacks up. But really, you can just get started today for $97 with the payment plan. Now, just as I mentioned, I'll just quickly run you through. If you click on that checkout link, this is what will come up. You can select which payment method you want. So you can go with the pay in full or the payment plan, and then it will take you through to sign the client agreement. This is really just a requirement with medical disclaimers and that kind of thing of that I have to provide you with, and also an outline of what's included again. And then once you've done that, you check your email and you get access to the hub straight away, so you can get started straight away. Now we're coming close to the end of the masterclass, so I'm going to give you that special gift that I promised, and then we can move into some questions if anyone has some. So just let me grab the link for that, and I'll pop it in. If you have any problems downloading this, here you go. There's the link. If you have any problems downloading that, please do let me know, because I want to make sure you get it. So don't worry, you can send me an email if you have any problems with it, and I will make sure that you definitely get it. Cool. So we'll move into Q&A. Let me just take the screen sharing off, and I'll put my video back on. How to do that? I'm not very good at flicking between. Here we go. Cool. So let me know if you've got any questions. I do have a list of questions that commonly get asked, so I'm more than happy to run through those. If if no one has anything that's coming to mind, then some of the common questions I can cover. Cool. So I'll give chance for people to type in the comments, but otherwise, one of the questions that sometimes I get asked is, what if I can't make the weekly calls? Well, questions are pre-submitted for the calls, so I always record them and you can watch it back. And if you need more information, you can tag me in the group and we can have a bit of a conversation about it. What if I have a sensitive question? Well, I do have a form that you can submit so that people can't see your questions, and that it can be answered anonymously. Will there be any sort of cry it out? No. So I really define sleep training as any strategy that involves ignoring your baby's communication with you. So I don't sort of teach any of that at all. Do I need to be home all the time to implement your suggestions? No. So as you saw with the client reviews, really this approach is about freedom away from clock watching and from sitting at home all day in a dark room. Won't my baby just grow out of it? Well, eventually all babies do sleep through the night, obviously, of course. But the mums that I work with are finding things not very enjoyable. They're in quite a hard place. And I don't want that for anyone. So I've created this program really so that you can enjoy life now and, bypass feeling like that for a long time. What if my husband is on a different page? Like I said, this is really comes up quite often. And so we've got that little guide there that you can use. I'm happy to chat to your husband or partner. And that's not a problem at all. And I need to speak to my spouse about the investment. I'm not sure they'll be on board. Um, yeah, if this is something you want to do, just spend a moment having a conversation with them about how you're finding things at the moment. This is the thing, like often our partners, they get to continue life as normal after a baby's born. You know, they don't really have a lot of changes to their life a lot of the time. They don't know what it's like to be with a baby 24/7, obsessing and worrying over anything, everything. So when you're in that situation, sometimes you just need to explain to them, well, actually, this is what it's like for me, and actually, I could use some support. And that often really does help them to understand. And then, they want to support you. So they get on the same page. I've tried the possums approach. Would this still be helpful for me? So yes, as I mentioned, the program is very action focused. So it's not just giving you information. This isn't a course. This is about like step by step what you need to do, what action to take. And also, I go into more detail about some of the science part and also and like I said, about the temperament and sensory pieces, much more detail about what your baby actually needs. And I've had a number of clients who have previously done possums and then have come on to do this program. So let me know if there's any more questions. Georgia says she'll reach out on social media as her little one is 15 months. No problem at all. Yeah, like I said, if your baby's over 12 months, do reach out and I can let you know how I support toddlers. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So I will post that link again if you want to jump in now. But if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And I will see you all again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.